Hi and welcome to Blue Sky Bonsai. I'm Dave, and in this video I'm going to show you how to prune your small bonsai trees, why you should prune your small bonsai trees, when to prune them and when not to prune them. Enjoy the video. I've been growing bonsai trees for about 15 years. I was looking back at my old photos recently, and the earliest photo I could find of one of my bonsai was in 2006. It was a Sarissa in a broom style. It died about a year later, as did all my other first few trees. My goal with these videos is to show you what I've learned the hard way, so that you don't make the same mistakes as me and so you can learn the easy way. So let's talk about reasons for pruning and what we're trying to achieve by pruning our bonsai trees. But I'll start by asking you a question. Why are you into bonsai? Maybe someone gifted you a small bonsai tree and you just got hooked. Or maybe you just want a little piece of nature in your house or in your back garden. If you're like me, it's because you love trees. Huge, majestic trees with big, fat, old trunks with beautiful bark. So my goal with bonsai is to make it look like a real tree out there in nature, a miniature representation. And that is our first reason for pruning bonsai, because we want to keep the form or the shape of the tree looking somewhat like a real tree out there in nature, and not just an unwieldy bush or a stick in a pot. The second reason is related to the first, in that what we want to do is achieve a smaller leaf size, so that the leaves look in proportion to the overall tree. And so again, it adds to the more realistic view or image of the overall tree. If you look at a long shoot, you'll nearly always see that the first few leaves down near the base are smaller leaves, and as the shoot grows the leaves get bigger. So we can achieve this idea of reducing the leaf size and encouraging smaller leaves by literally cutting each shoot nearer to the trunk or nearer to the base. But trimming a shoot at any point in its growth, we're actually encouraging finer ramification and more small leaves down there. So that's the third reason to prune. You can encourage more branching, more finer ramification around the cut sites where you've pruned. And over a long period of time, when you've got a lot more ramification, a lot more finer branching, again, you're adding to the overall image of a real tree. There are also plenty of other reasons why you'd want to prune, or why we need to prune bonsai. For example, to remove new nodes or new shoots from the crotch of a branch. Also, for example, to remove awkward branches or branches that cross over each other. Other reasons include to try and keep the branches smaller at the apex or near the apex, while keeping branches lower down larger. So we do pruning to keep the tree in proportion. And as I've said several times on other videos, a clear reason to prune is to ensure that we're always getting bifurcating branches. So 2 shoots or 2 branches coming out of one node, and not 3 or 4. And another reason is to try to achieve more trunk taper, so the trunk is wider at the lower part and gradually gets narrower as you go up the trunk. And we can, over a long period of time, we can help achieve that by keeping more foliage lower down, giving more energy to the lower part of the trunk, and keeping on trimming higher up, so there is less energy there. Effectively, we are trying to, over a long period of time, get the energy to the lower part of the trunk to fatten up the trunk. We're going to do some light summer pruning. What do I mean by summer pruning? You've probably heard of people talking about summer pruning and winter pruning. Let's look at a picture of the seasons and see when the best time to prune is and why. So let's think about the energy level of the tree and think about when the energy is high in the tree. It has its reserves, it has sugars stored inside it. So you can go ahead and prune and it's going to push out new branches or new leaves at those times. So when the energy is high in the tree, it's a good time. Now in deciduous trees, what happens is in summer, the energy is high. So let's put this energy circle, high energy. During autumn, the energy is, let's call it medium. Pruning in autumn can be detrimental in two ways. It can hinder the generation of new buds. And secondly, because in autumn, just before leaf fall, the tree is trying to store away as much of the photosynthesized carbohydrates that it can, packing them down the trunk into the roots, trying to build as much strong root growth as possible. So you really have to avoid branch pruning in autumn before leaf fall. Then in winter, the energy is a bit higher, mid to high, because in winter, on a deciduous tree, there are no leaves. All the energy is stored in the trunk and down in the roots. So in winter, it is an okay time to prune. In spring, a deciduous tree just starts to bud. It's pushing out its buds around here. And as it pushes out its buds, the energy level is suddenly very low in the tree, because all the energy is going to all the branches all over the tree saying push out new buds. So that's a low energy time. We do the branch pruning when the tree's energy is at a high. We definitely don't want to do major branch pruning just as it's pushing out new buds, and we don't want to do branch pruning before the leaves drop. So for pruning bonsai, you may already have a pair of bonsai scissors, something like this. This is the first pair I got when I first got into bonsai, and I still use them occasionally. I've more recently got a really nice pair that I like that actually double up as wire cutter as well for when I need it. You can make do quite easily with a pair of kitchen scissors as long as they're sharp and clean. But I prefer to use my bonsai scissors because you can get right down low, you can get right up to the very point that you want to. That's the advantage of these. So we've talked about pruning scissors, which are fine for most branch pruning. But if you need to prune a thicker branch, you might need a branch cutter. If this is a very occasional thing, then garden secateurs or shears will be fine for the job. And I still actually use these sometimes. But if you're going to be pruning thicker branches more often, you might want to invest in something like this, which is a concave branch cutter. It has a curved blade and it's really good for getting to the base of a branch, doing a flush cut. I'll talk more about branch cutting and flush cuts in part 2 of this video series. I really also like this. This is a branch cutter with a straight edge. It's finer and smaller. You can get into some difficult spots with this. Okay, for a pruning demonstration, I'm going to prune this tiny Chinese elm, which clearly at the moment doesn't look like a tree. It just looks like a little stick in a pot with lots of shoots. These two massive shoots, long shoots out the side, are what we call sacrifice branches. So I'm growing them out long, and I'll probably keep them on this summer to fatten up the lower trunk, and then I'll prune them off probably later in summer. Now I'm going to trim a lot off the top here. The higher the branch, the more we trim off. Just there, finding our way down to only 2 leaves, and nice really short internodes there. I've got a very small lower down sacrifice branch there. I'm going to let that grow out too this summer. So just to remind you, we want to keep lower branches and let them grow out while trimming the upper branches quite hard. That way we let more light energy to the lower branches and fatten up the lower trunk, creating a better trunk taper. Of course, we do eventually need to get rid of those sacrifice branches, otherwise it doesn't always look like a real tree. So there's kind of a fine balance, because the longer you leave them, the better trunk taper you get, but also the worse scar you get when you do eventually prune them. So you need to judge that. You can see with every single tiny branch, especially on top, I'm really trimming carefully down to 2 leaves. In a few cases, I might prune down to 3 leaves if the most outward leaf is pointing in the right direction, so that'll be the next branch that grows out. But actually, when you've got such tiny short internodes between the leaves, it doesn't make a great deal of difference. You can nearly always prune right down to only 2 leaves. Now that is becoming quite a sweet looking tiny bonsai. Let's see how it looks with the sacrifice branches hidden out of the way. It looks very good. When they're this small, we call them mame, which is just a name for the size or a classification for this tiny size of bonsai. You can see a couple more branches here at the back that I still need to prune. Each one just down to 2 leaves to encourage nice fine ramification all over the tree. It's incredibly relaxing pruning a bonsai, and yet at the same time hugely fulfilling. I'd recommend it for anyone who needs a little time away from their busy schedule, or if you just need some time alone with nature. It's a very satisfying way to spend that time, both while you're doing it and in the long term while you admire the results of your work. In part 2 of this video series, I'll be talking about the reasons and the times when you shouldn't prune a bonsai, so please stay tuned and I'll see you soon.